Hey folks, it is Kellen Nitro from Nitromaniac TV's Wrestling Unlimited coming at you with another Nitro Stake, and man, what a show. On January 15th, 2021, Impact Wrestling held its Hard to Kill pay-per-view from Nashville, Tennessee to Skyway Studios, and it was a huge card that everybody was talking about for, well, months now. We can physically say the plural terminology with it because we're now in January 2021. The AEW World Champion Kenny Omega making his way to Impact Wrestling for and it's not going to be a one-off. This is the opening of what I think will be the creative or the angle of the year in pro wrestling. Is this Impact AEW talent exchange / share / whatever have you. Invasion, maybe. We'll have to wait and see. But the opening pay-per-view for this was on Impact's side, and it was the Impact Wrestling Hard to Kill pay-per-view. I love the move to Saturdays for Impact for their pay-per-views. Puts them on the same level as an NXT or an AEW for their big shows. And yeah, don't forget, they have the big show in January, Hard to Kill. We found out April 24th is going to be their next big show, which will be Impact Rebellion, which will be the next pay-per-view. Don't forget, Bound for Glory is always in October, and Slammiversary in July. That's 4 big pay-per-views, which pretty much puts them on the same level as an AEW with the number, the 4 to 6 number, and with an NXT as well. So, hey, there's another player here, folks. Impact, don't sleep on Impact. They are good. So let's head to the pre-show here and some notable stuff that happened in the pre-show that aired live on AXS TV or on whatever channel your pay-per-view provider provided you with this show if you don't have AXS TV. Kenny Omega not happy with Don Callis, Moose replacing Alex Shelley in the main event. Yes, we saw that develop over the past few days or so that Alex Shelley would be out of the main event. Non-COVID related reasons. He's stating, he said that he will be back. We'll find out the full reasoning here in the days and weeks to come why he couldn't go tonight. But Alex Shelley out, Moose in, the TNA heavyweight champion right now. He's in the main event with Rich Swann and Chris Sabin taking on the Good Brothers and Kenny Omega in that huge 6-man main event. Callis says he's got Moose's 2-year contract and he has an idea, so he takes off from the Good Brothers, Kenny Omega dressing room to go find Moose. There was an awesome Sami Callihan promo too in a pre-show. He's got a huge match with Eddie Edwards. Barbed Wire Massacre IV coming your way tonight on Impact's Hard to Kill. One match in the pre-show, it is Josh Alexander taking on Brian Myers, and we see the debut of the brand new pay-per-view announce team of Matt Striker and D'Lo Brown making their debut. Alexander's embarking on a singles run. Myers trying to work his way up for title shots, of course. This match goes with a 10-minute and 55-second runtime. Ankle lock, no dice for Alexander for a submission, and an overhead German nets 2. Myers nets a superplex from the top rope, but Alexander hooks in a pin attempt, only nets 2. The finish of this match, though, big clothesline by Myers after Josh Alexander's headgear to protect that previously injured ear falls down and starts to block his eyes. 1-2-3, Myers gets the pin on that one again, 10 minutes and 55 seconds. This was a solid opener with 2 veteran hands, and pre-show had some technical issues, but that's Impact at times when they run live, especially with stuff like their pre-shows and so on and so forth. It settled down quite a bit when we got into the pay-per-view to the point where if there were technical glitches, I didn't notice them at all. I thought that it was a very solid broadcast once we hit that 6 o'clock Mountain Time start for the pay-per-view on through the end of the show. Yeah, it was a solid and sound technical production from that point on. Just a little glitches in the pre-show if you go back and watch it. And, of course, the big news coming out of this is Madison Rayne announced her retirement from in-ring competition during the pre-show. I wish her the best. Phenomenal talent. And so this ends the run of Madison Rayne coming back just prior to Well, she was in the Mae Young Classic in 2018, and that kind of launched her into the stratosphere a little bit back as a sought-after talent on the indies with the Women of Honor and Ring of Honor, and then being booked on the first All In, which ironically was the catalyst for AEW, and then jumping back with Impact, and currently where she was in 19 and 20 with Impact Wrestling. So a great career, storied career, a icon in women's wrestling, and I think she's in the Impact Wrestling Hall of Fame. If she isn't, she should be. And we'll see what happens going forward. I know that her and Josh are doing the call on Impact every Tuesday, so hopefully that's that's their announced team going forward for that. And Matt Stryker and D'Lo Brown are the call for pay-per-views. We'll have to wait and see how that all shapes up and goes forward. I haven't seen any literature either way here. I just basically sat down and watched the show. So the intro video was awesome. Great intro again by Impact's production staff. The Skyway Studios in Nashville looking good. And it's time for the opener on the pay-per-view section of the show. And this wasn't a mixed tag. This was an intergender tag. Rosemary and Crazy Steve reforming Decay, taking on Tennille Dashwood and Caleb with a K. Steve and Rosemary, like I said, dusting off the Decay moniker for tonight. This is the first time any iteration of Decay has teamed on an Impact pay-per-view or television show in about 4 years or so. So a big moment there. Again, not a mixed tag. Intergender rules here. We fast forward right to the end of the match. Tennille gets the miss by Crazy Steve. Rosemary missed Caleb with a K. Steve hits the finish on Caleb, and 1, 2, 3, Decay wins. Gets the pinfall off of that. The runtime for that one, 8:55. The opener was a little bit clunky at times, I found. I think that was just more along the lines of people kind of trying to adjust to working live rather than to tape or something, or whatever. I just found it really clunky, but a great finish, a really imaginative finish, utilizing both members of Decay with the green mist on the opponent, on the quote-unquote heel influencer opponents here. Try saying that 3 times fast. That was a hard read to do. But anyways, there we go. Decay gets a W in their first time teaming in about 4 years or so. Old School Rules 6-man tag. So on one side you had Violence by Design, Joe Doring, Eric Young, and Diener taking on Cousin Jake, Tommy Dreamer, and Rhino. Old School Rules basically means Extreme Rules. Don't get caught up in the vernacular. They can't use extreme at all in any of the match advertisements or that stuff. Otherwise, Jerry McDevitt and the WWE is knocking at Impact's door. So this is Old School Rules. Young rocking the Gary Cheevers mask tonight. Again, the name of the group, Violent by Design. Joe Doring finally getting a crack at North American pay-per-view in a match. An All-Japan ace. For years has been one of their top talents over there, and now has come over into Impact Wrestling and might be one of these hidden figures that, if you watch this Impact AEW thing explode, might be one of the guys that maybe crosses over to AEW. We'll have to wait and see. Just a big, violent, heavyweight guy, a la Stan Hansen and Bradshaw, just a big rough and tumble cowboy. Cousin Jake and Diener finally square off after their split. Diener, of course, being influenced by Violent by Design and Eric Young. This is a great exchange. There's a massive superplex, a powerbomb combo by Doring and Diener. Dreamer backdrops Young onto the thumbtacks, and Rhino gores Doring. Diener nails the DDT on Rhino. For the finish, though, Eric Young, hits Jake with the goalie mask. And pile driver nets the 1-2-3 by Violent by Design. And the runtime is 9:55 for that. And, got the feud across. Violent by Design trying to establish themselves as probably the preeminent mid-card heel stable on Impact right now. Maybe work their way up a little bit. And definitely will give Eric Young maybe a run with either the Impact World Championship again this year in 2021, or probably more likely that TNA Heavyweight Championship that Moose has. by hook or crook, because Eric Young being a guy that, dates back to, the Team Canada days of TNA and that stuff. That's basically, as close to a historic figure that company has working for them. And, he's a mid-card heel right now, the way I see it. Knockouts Tag Team Finals up next, where we had the two challenging teams for the returning, Impact Wrestling Knockouts Tag Team Championship. Almost said TNA there. On one side, you had Nevaeh and Havoc. On the other side, you had Fire and Flava, the new team of Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan. Tonight is the final match of the tournament that started right after Bound for Glory, that saw such teams as the Sea Stars come in, and Valkyrie and Rosemary, and on and on and on. You can take a look at the brackets online and see how they shook out. But these are the final two teams. Basically, the female OVE of Nevaeh and Havoc versus the brand new kind of put together team of Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan. But they just gel together so much. They have matching ring gear. They have everything. They've really bought in on the Fire and Flavor tag team gimmick. Brian Hebner back in Impact reffing this one. NWA loses a great referee, but Impact gains a awesome experienced referee that has worked for Impact in the past too. Brian Hebner back with Impact Wrestling. Super awesome. Love it. Very hot start. And the match time itself is 8:40. Very fun match to watch front to back. But Steelz and Hogan walk out with the belts after a great contest, and Gail Kim, the Knockouts legend, awards the belts. So the Impact Knockouts tag team titles are now a thing again in Impact. Put your comments below what you thought about that going forward. I think they're trying to maybe bring back that belt, but erase the legacy that the belt had, because your last holders were, ODB and Eric Young. That held it for something like 3 years, but only defended it a couple of times or something. I can't remember exactly, but it was a long period of time, and it was kind of it was a joke when they ended it. But these belts are serious now, so I loved it. Great stuff. Up next on the program, Ace Austin and Madman Fulton hit the ring. Ace is pissed that his interview in a pre-show was cut short, but Ace wants in on the X Division freeway match for the title, because he is the Super X Cup winner for 2021. On a recent episode of Impact, he was crowned the champ for 2021. Scott D'Amore comes out and says no X Division match, but he has a match for tonight with somebody who's always ready. And direct from the last time we seen him on pay-per-view was AEW All Out in that giant 10-man tag team match against the Dark Order. It's Matt Cardona. Matt Cardona, the former Zack Ryder in WWE, versus Ace Austin. The match starts hot. Cardona hits the reboot, the former Broski boot, but Madman Fulton interferes, and it's a DQ win for Cardona in his debut. In 2 minutes and 30 seconds, it accomplished what it needed to accomplish. It was Cardona's debut, but I got to ask the old Bobby Heenan question. What side is he on? Is he a full-on Impact guy, or is he an AEW guy coming into Impact to kind of infiltrate a little bit? Time will tell. Time will tell to see if he's an integral part of this invasion scenario, or if this is just a free agent signing by Impact. Next match is that X Division freeway for the X Division title. The champion is Manic, which is the former alter ego of one TJP. Manic is taking on Chris Bay and Rohit Raju. The storyline, of course, is Raju beat TJP, and TJP couldn't challenge for the X Division title anymore, but Manic comes back, beats Rohit, and is the X Division champion. However, Chris Bay in a singles match defeats Manic, so he all of a sudden leapfrogs Rohit to become that #1 contender for the X Division title. And here we are. Basically, there's your triple threat. Bay and Rohit have a fun exchange early. Tilt-a-whirl head scissors by Rohit only nets a 2 count on Manic. Manic and Bay do some great mat work and end up in a Texas Cloverleaf by Manic on Bay, no submission. Rohit finally rips the mask off of Manic, reveals a painted face. It's TJP under face paint, but D'Lo sells it like it isn't. So that was very funny. Bay nails a mid-air cutter, and another cutter only nets a 2 count. A spiked DDT and a crucifix bomb by Manic only nets a 2 count. But Manic eventually nets the 1-2-3 and retains the belt. What a great contest. The runtime is 13 minutes and 50 seconds. I had it up as part of the poll that you'll see the results of at the end of this video for Match of the Night, and it garnered some votes. We'll get to that at the end of the video, though. Backstage, Eddie Edwards sends his wife Alicia home, says tonight will be too violent for her, and that he doesn't want her in the building at all. Next match is the Knockouts Championship, a highly anticipated one here. Taya Valkyrie with Decay coming out to ringside versus Deonna Purrazzo with Kimberly and Susan, the former Su Yung, coming out to ringside here. So we have a very interesting contest between the longest reigning Knockouts champion, Taya Valkyrie, versus the current Knockouts queen of the division, Deonna Purrazzo. This is a dream match for sure, but the ref dispatches all the corner men and women after a big schmoz on the outside, not even half a minute into the match or anything. So this will be one-on-one, and I think that's what everybody wanted to see, is these two match head-to-head, because these two women can go and can wrestle. This was a great exchange of holds and an amazing technical battle. Purrazzo locks in a double arm lock submission for the win. And if you are a technical wrestling fan, you got to watch this for sure. The runtime for that match is 11 minutes and 40 seconds, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. It was a great technical contest. Kind of reminded me of watching back in '95 the old Hakushi versus Bret Hart matches. Two guys that can go technically and, no gimmicks, basically just going at it. And it kind of had that vibe to it. It was a lot of fun. Well, two girls in this case, but you get what I'm saying. Ethan Page versus the Karate Man. So, Ethan Page is taking on his alter ego from the Talking Shopaverse. It's a cinematic recorded weeks ago as Ethan Page is now leaving Impact. Destination right now unknown. We don't know if he's NXT bound, if he's AEW bound, if he's even New Japan bound, or where he's going. But he's one of the big names at the beginning of the year that we await to see where he'll show up on either television or anywhere in the wrestling world. Yeah, no runtime, and the Karate Man murders Ethan Page. So that's the old trope of Impact Wrestling, is the way you leave Impact Wrestling, a la Ali a few years ago. You don't leave Impact Wrestling. They physically kill you on screen and your character is dead. That's it. You leave in a body bag. That's what it is. Kind of like the Bloods and the Crips a little bit. Scary stuff. So much green screen, though. So much green screen in that vignette. It was crazy. We didn't go backstage, and Don Callis finally finds Moose. He wants Moose to brother it up a little bit and maybe throw the match in favor of the Good Brothers and Kenny Omega in the main event. Moose says he's placed to win, says he may jump to AEW and take Kenny's belt, regardless. Wow, that's a statement. So maybe that's a little foreshadowing. So maybe we wait to see. Maybe Moose is taking that TNA belt over to AEW. Barbed Wire Massacre IV, Sami Callihan versus Eddie Edwards. This is the 4th Barbed Wire Massacre match in Impact history. I believe the first one, and longtime Impact TNA fans can correct me below and that stuff, but I think the first one was between Abyss and Sabu back in 2005. Edwards and Callihan, one of those all-time rivalries. It's kind of a hybrid Clockwork Orange, House of Fun, and a barbed wire type setup to explain the environment a little bit. So yeah, barbed wire on the ropes, kind of old school Crockett style, but on one side of the ring you have half of a steel cage up that's wrapped in barbed wire. On the other side of the ring, you have a metal chain a la Raven and Sandman back in the early 2000s with TNA, and with various objects of blunder and plunder that we'll talk about here. This is not a cinematic. This is a legit match, and Callihan is the first to touch the barbed wire. Edwards takes a halo of barbed wire and wraps it around Callahan's head. There is lots of plunder here. Edwards tries for a planche outside, but Sammy catches him with a barbed wire board. The cactus elbow by Sammy on the outside. A barbed wire N64 controller. Now that's no mercy. See what I did there? As Sammy uses it on Eddie Edwards. Eddie fights back and uses a barbed wire chair on Sammy. The Blue Thunder Bomb, wow, on the chair by Eddie only nets a 2 count. Spear attempt ends with Eddie going headfirst into the cage. Callihan guillotines Eddie on a chain that was stretched from ring post to ring post. The Cactus Special 97 from the second turnbuckle through the barbed wire board by Callihan. That only netted a 2 count, but Eddie fights back and lands a Boston Knee Party through a barbed wire chair. That only nets a 1 count, but Eddie digs down and hits the Misawa Emerald Fusion for the 1-2-3 onto barbed wire. Are you kidding me? Wow, what a great finish. What a contest. I love this match. This was amazing. 18 minutes and 50 seconds. I have it shortlisted already for my specialty match of the year. I know that we're currently in the middle of shall I call it a halftime, full disclosure, I'm due to record the second half of the Meltzers tomorrow with Morehouse. But if we were to make a category for next year's Meltzers for 2021 specialty match of 2021, this might be up here. Take note of this one. Remember this one when it comes to the end of the year rankings in about 12 months' time or so, and we'll talk about it for sure. This was incredible. This was great stuff. Impact comes back to pay-per-view in April. Rebellion on April 24th. Now, as we found out during the course of this pay-per-view, just a week or two after WrestleMania. Yes, they announced the WrestleMania start times and whatever. I might do a video on that subject later on this weekend or so if I have some time. But anyways, that was big news from their side. We're talking Impact, and it's main event time, and it's a main event that nobody figured that they would see. So for the second year in a row, Impact's Hard to Kill pay-per-view, the January show that they started, last year, features a main event that is a chart topper, a barrier breaker, if you might classify it in that way. Last year, Sami Callihan, Tessa Blanchard for the Impact World title, with Tessa walking out with the belt. This year, the big, huge 6-man tag with the Good Brothers and Kenny Omega. That's right, members of the Bullet Club reuniting for the first time in a long time, taking on Rich Swann, Chris Sabin, and Moose. This is the next step in what could be the hottest angle of the year, Impact versus AEW. Anderson walking out in a Bullet Club hoodie. Wow. Callis introduces Kenny Omega, clad in Bullet Club colors again. What? He had a Bullet Club Halloween shirt on. Maybe there's a back catalog of those. Who knows? It took them 5 years, but they finally got the Bullet Club in an Impact ring. Yes, remember those stories about 5 years ago or so that they were trying to attract members of the Bullet Club over from New Japan into Impact. And basically, it would be 5 years ago this year, 2016 or so. And, that ended up with Gallows and Anderson basically jumping ship to WWE instead of hanging out in New Japan and re-upping the contracts and whatever. So Sabin and Anderson start, but Moose and Gallows was awesome. Big lads wrestling for sure. Swann and Omega touched briefly, led to a 6-man schmoz. Amazing triple team spots by Moose, Sabin, and Swann. Assisted DDTs by Swann. Sabin, as Swann gets in on that Motor City machine gun offense. Yes, Swann was basically Alex Shelley in this match. Triple splash by the Bullet Club, only nets a 2 count. Big headbutt by Moose on Doc Gallows. Wow. Moose nets a 2 count on Omega after a discus clothesline. A sit-out powerbomb by Omega only nets 2 on Sabin. Moose hits a Spanish fly off the top on Omega. A standing cutter by Sabin only nets a 2 count. Magic Killer attempt thwarted by Sabin and makes the hot tag off of a DDT. Kenny hits Snapdragon and a double underhook pile driver on Swann, only nets a 2 count. The Doomsday device on Omega only nets a 2 count by Swann. And Moose, Poison Rana and 450 on Omega by Swann, only nets a 2 count. Magic Killer by Good Brothers on Swann, but Moose is in for the save. But time for the finish. V-Trigger, One Winged Angel, nets the 1-2-3 Omega on Swann. And we go to black with the, well, let's say it, the Bullet Club victorious, Gallows, Anderson, and Omega, the alternate version of the Elite, standing victorious with Don Callis at the top of the ramp at 2 hours and 53 minutes, and that was it. 9 out of 10 for me. Yep, 9 out of 10. Enjoyable show. This was, if you wanted to showcase Impact Wrestling, you couldn't have done it any better. This was a home run, game-winning Grand Slam. This is as good as it gets. This show will be in consideration at the end of the year for one of the pay-per-views of the year, for sure. This was quite the lid lifter, coming off of Wrestle Kingdom 15 and all the stuff that New Japan has to offer. This Impact AEW relationship is thumbs up awesome. And now it is AEW's turn to counteract with that, and they'll do so in February with Revolution. So we'll wait and see, but this is just adding fuel to the fire now. Now we expect it to happen the other way. Maybe we'll start seeing some Impact guys maybe invade AEW towards that pay-per-view. So who knows? Anyways, later days, happy wrestling watching. I'm Kellen Nitro. Catch me online on Twitter at Kellen Nitro, on Instagram at Kellen Nitro. Messages are open, comments are open. Comment below. Don't hide your comments in private. Post them below. Let everybody see them. All right. Peace out, folks. See ya.